Hey there, and welcome to episode 12 of Discourse in Magic. In this episode, we sat down with Simon Black, who is a young magician who's been making waves in the community. And that's sort of what we talk about, is how he got there and who he's working with and what he's working on now, and sort of how the magicians in his circle have helped shape his magic career. I mean, you got to hear this kid name drop. He's just taking off with his magic career, but already he is, right in the middle of the magic circle.
Yeah, and you know what? This guy is really, really, really bright. When I met him about probably maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago at a convention, he was very, technique heavy and move heavy, but I could hear him talking about theory in a way that got me very, very, very excited. And then it was super exciting in this interview to find out where his head's at, with really how to make your magic more amazing and more, wish fulfilling and more relevant and more, really
significant.
Yeah,
magic.
exactly. And he's really been directing that, and he's been doing it intentionally with direction in his magic, and it's very exciting to see that stuff right now. And he speaks quite a bit about his mentor, so we're very excited about that. In addition, we'd like to take this opportunity to remind you all about our super exciting contest. Here it is quick, 2 steps. Step 1, find anything on www.discourseinmagic.com and comment on it. Step 2, sign up to our newsletter. It's anywhere. It's
All
somewhere on
those
the website,
steps, but it's so many steps, Jonah.
Yeah.
You better give me something free at least.
I will. We're giving away 4 copies of Chris Mayhew and Ben Train's incredible movie, Series of Unfortunate Effects. It is a film about magic, and you get to learn the tricks, or you can watch the version without the tricks. You can show it to your family and friends, and it is the physical DVD. We are going to send you the physical, actual DVD.
It's really nice. I was surprised.
Beautiful.
It's a box. It's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm. We've got some photos up on our website on the contest page. Comment anywhere, and we'll be very excited to send you one of these 4.
Just tell me I'm pretty.
Yeah, that'll work. So without further ado, here we go, episode 12 of Discourse in Magic with our good friend Simon Black.
Hello, and welcome to Discourse in Magic. My name is Tyler.
My name is Jonah.
And we are here with Simon Black. Very excited to have you on.
How you doing, Simon?
I'm great. Great to be here, too. I didn't know if I was supposed to speak up right then.
You can speak whenever you want.
We are here for you.
We are here
and the
for
listener.
you. Exactly.
Just not
you
us.
guys are just voices coming out of space right now, so...
We are. It's
we do all our podcasts without microphones.
You can just think of us as
magic.
God,
It's
speaking down, asking you the questions you've always wanted to be asked.
Speaking of asking questions, we have a classic one.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
Right in. How did you get into magic?
How did I get into magic? It's a really interesting story, actually. I got hit by a car. That's the short version.
Pardon me?
What?
Yeah. It's really interesting. That's the short version, is I got smacked by a car and broke my femur, which, if you're not familiar, that's the bone in your thigh.
Wow.
And
how did that translate into
and
you got magical powers. You got
magical
right.
Yeah. No. I'm pretty much, he's a good superhero. I'm like Cyborg, right?
It was transporting
right.
radioactive material,
Yeah.
and splashing your eyes, and then...
No, I'm not Daredevil. That'd be awesome. I am a huge super nerd, though, so we can talk about this at some point if you want. Anyway, so I was flashed back, right, to when I was 6 years old. My grandparents got me a magic book. It's actually just called Magic. It's by Nick Einhorn. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Einhorn's awesome. Really, really great guy. And he's still the one magician, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, when we're talking about people who I look up to and who I respect above all else. He's one of the last ones that I've not met. The previous one was Eric LeClaire, but we all know that guy's a crazy lunatic, so in a good way. He's one of the greatest people I know. Anyway, so...
Yeah, he's awesome.
Going all tangential right now. So I was 6 years old. My parents got me that book. or grandparents, excuse me. Interestingly enough, it was actually misprinted, so the pages were upside down. I thought it was like a trick in a book.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was 6 years old, right? So the 6-year-old mind can only comprehend so much of the printed word, right? So I wasn't really able to understand it, so I put it down. And then flash forward to me being 14 years old in high school, freshman in high school. I was going to a baseball game, and I got hit by a car on the way. I broke my femur. Minor skull fractures, crazy complex surgeries that I had to endure. Yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, I was bedridden for about 2.5, 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and during that time, I decided to reread my library because I'm a huge reader, and Jonah, you know me, I read a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge reader, just in general, of just fiction and there's any printed word I can get my hands on.
Write anything down, and I'll read it.
Right, exactly. Anyway, the 6th book that I came across in my library was that same book from when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
And so I read it, got enthralled with magic, had my parents at the time buy me... My parents at the time... They're not my parents anymore. Had my parents at the time buy me... I'll just continue with it. Buy me all the Marlowe books in the library.
Wow. So it was kind of like mail order magic. You would lie in your hospital bed and you would say... Fetch me 2 Marlowe books and 3 Vernon books.
One.
I was just like this fiend. Like, I read the book all the way through in like 4 hours, and I went, more, like I need more.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting me anything they had in the library, which happened to be Revolutionary Card Technique.
Wow.
So I started off right away.
Yeah, you started right in the nuts and bolts.
Yeah,
right. The first book I read is an intermediate book. Magic is an intermediate book, right? And then the Marlowe stuff is advanced work, you know? Like, I was
exactly. So you just jumped past the intro stuff. You didn't buy any stupid tricks from...
I never did. I also have never seen, and we'll talk about this later if you want. Like, when I was, because I'm Tony's student now, I don't know if you know that, Tony Chang.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about about why we're in magic, right? And he was saying that it was because a magician made him feel the sense of wonder, which is the case for most of us, right?
Yeah.
But that never happened to me. I've never seen magic as a layman.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate.
You arrived there already at the wrong end.
Right. And I know first, which is really unfortunate because it was more difficult for me to, and this is why I focus more on sleight of hand, because I was more enthralled with impressing magicians than I was with lay people. And that's changed now. But because I didn't know what it felt like to be given the sense of wonder, I didn't know that I wanted to give that to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and almost like it's very common now that move junkies have their head in their lap. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, crotch shots, the whole thing. Exactly.
So it's there's a very big movement for people who are trying to get emotional, real sort of deep responses out of their magic.
And that's where I'm at right now.
Slow on down, exactly. And I super resonate with that.
Yeah, and it's something. It's interesting that you mentioned that you're Tony Chang student, because I know that's something he's going through, because he's one of the card kings, like technical.
Yeah,
but he's not human, and recently he's switching over to do more simplistic, more.
Yeah, it's mostly like Tony. I'm studying him because of his technical theory, and then I have 3 other huge mentors, that have affected me more than any other people I've ever met, which are Aussie Wynn, Garrett Thomas, and Alex Pandrea.
Wow.
Right.
A lot of people don't know, but Pandrea, or I'll probably refer to him as Panda Pants at some point. Panda Pants is... I don't know if we're allowed to swear on this. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, we'll either bleep it out, or if it's not that bad of a swear word, we'll be excited about it. Yeah.
Alright, whatever. I'll keep that in mind. The point is, Alex Pandrea is fucking ridiculous.
There you go. We'll leave that.
That's alright.
He's not... People know him in the magic community for his technique and his, his very technical work, right? But the dude is so into emotional magic. Like, every single time I show him something, he goes, in Romania, that would make women cry.
He almost made me cry. I've met him one time and one time only, and he did just a 3-phase ambitious card routine, and I with barely any presentation to it, and it was still super emotional for me because it was so magical.
Was it really? See,
Yeah.
I know the ambitious card routine you're talking about that uses 3 passes.
Yeah, just in your
Yeah,
face,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I couldn't see them. So, like, as a magician, like, no, I don't think that would be so magical for, like, a layperson, but as a magician,
Right.
I was like, that was too fair. That was way too
But
fair.
the thing is, that's not what I'm talking about. The dude will do, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, like, a crosscut. You know what I mean by that? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
I'll, like, take away the third word.
Exactly.
He'll do, like, a crosscut, right? And then, okay, are you familiar with that routine Juan does, where he does a DL with his, like, little addition, you know what I mean, where it's out job?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yep.
it's just a joker changing into a selected card, right? Or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
named card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The dude will turn that joker over and just leave it there for 10 minutes and talk about it for 10 minutes. Until
Right.
it
Wow.
becomes the most amazing miracle of all time. And then he
Yeah.
reveals it,
Yeah.
and people explode and everybody plays violin on their arm. Right?
Yeah.
Like, no, but Pandrea will do the same thing with a crosscut. And
Wow.
he has this whole thing about, like, signing the back of the card and, like, giving it to them, putting it in their wallet, taking it home. And it's so... I mean, the dude is such an emotional genius when it comes to
Yeah.
magic. And no
You
magician
just build
knows
important.
that.
And
But
one
no
of the things
magician knows that about
one
him.
of the things that you said is that, you know, people wouldn't know that about him, and I think
Nobody
that's
knows,
a
yeah.
lot because, like, when you're watching videos online of magicians, you only tend to see the very knacky, flourishy, eye
Yeah,
poppy
I think of
Same
like
thing
the
with
brick
Hero.
pass and the anti
Exactly. So let's talk about it. So when
If you
I
look at my
met
videos
you,
online, they're all slide heavy, and then people are
Yeah.
messaging me, right? They'll message me on Instagram or whatever and say, "Hey, so I'm working on this slight. What do you think?" And I go, "Why?"
yeah, exactly.
They're like, "Why are you?" I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" There's a much better version of that change.
Exactly.
That looks fair and is slower and is better for performance. And they're like, "Well, because it's mine." And I said, "Well, classics
well-
are classics for a reason."
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
We want to stand on the shoulders of giants. So yeah. So with that, I mean, when
Real
I
quick.
met you, I was blown away by a lot of your like knacky stuff, a lot of the different things that you were doing, and then we ended up sitting down. And it was me and you and Ozzy, and we were just talking about stuff, and
awesome.
you really let your theory side show. So has it been? Can you talk a little bit about the gradual?
Yeah, when
process?
we first met, that was when I was making the jump over, because that's when I got really close with Aussie. Was after that trip to
Yeah.
Michigan. I think, was it Michigan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I got really close with Aussie, and then he became more of a mentor for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that people know me for like my practice and stuff like that is that when I was bedridden, I was practicing like 22 hours a day because I
Yeah.
couldn't sleep due to pain, right? And I couldn't move, right? All I
Right.
could move was my torso and my arms, right? So anyway, that created my practice etiquette and kept me at being a reader rather than, a video watcher.
Yeah, when you practice for 22 hours a day, then to sit down and practice for 4 is nothing.
Yeah, so now I still try. I aim for 14 a day, but that usually doesn't end up happening. It ends up being like 10.
You're like
14
a
hours
professional
of
athlete
practice or of
like
hours
a-
of being awake?
You're a
That
Twitch
sounds like-
gamer. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
no. Speaking of Twitch, I actually really do want to start one of those things for magic sessioning.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, that is that. That's very.
Yeah, I thought that'd be awesome as a streaming service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So you went from move junkie to
I like how it's not even a
theory
monkey anymore.
theory junkie. Sorry, say again.
I like how it's not even a monkey anymore. We're just junkies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not monkeys, it's junkies.
Yeah.
Like we want to collect them and have them and know them. And so, anyways, you went from move junkie or move monkey to a theory guy. So
Yeah.
how and why and where's the journey going?
Well, I've read The Magic Way.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, if you don't know, like, you're missing out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It changed my life. I'm currently reading it. I read it constantly, right?
Same. It's
So
a great book.
No, I'm weird like this. So it had such a profound effect on me that I finished it, right? And then I took a break for about 3-4 weeks where I didn't read it. Like, I finished reading it and then I was like, wow, this is amazing. I changed my magic, changed my life pretty much. And then I took a break of 3-4 weeks. And then I decided I felt wrong not reading it. So I read it again. And then as soon as I put it down, I read, I went, you know what? I think I'm going to read this book for the foreseeable future. Like
Yeah.
every time I'm reading another book, I'm just gonna concurrently read The Magic Way.
It'll be this
Yeah,
book also.
I've read it a few times, and each time I read it, I'm like, that changed my magic forever again, and
Yep.
I don't know how. Like,
It's a different thing every time, and you have to be like you have to go on an acid trip with Juan a little bit because he does do that acid trip. at the
Yeah,
start.
well, he's asking for you to believe in a lot of very like artistic
he's trying
things.
to teach you magic he's trying to teach you how to get people to not believe in magic, but experience magic
Right.
in a magical way. Like, you need
And-
to sort of suspend your own disbelief in order to learn
Right.
what he's trying to say.
And I have my own theory on how to get there for you as a magician. Because if you're a worker, right? Like, okay, there's a worker downtown. I'm from Chicago, in case you're curious, in case people didn't know. I live downtown, and there are more magicians here than I think anywhere else in the world.
Really?
I'd
Wow.
wager a bet. I'd say there are more here than anywhere, besides maybe LA. So there's this guy downtown named Jeremy. He's otherwise known as the Magician from Britain. There are hundreds of magicians here. By the way, if you're familiar with the IBM, the International
Yep.
Brotherhood,
Yep.
we have the largest ring here. Like, that's just the largest ring is in Chicago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that's just a testament to how huge the magician community is here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we had so many people audition for the Magic Lounge, or we had so many people want to perform at the Magic Lounge. We had to hold auditions. There were that many magicians here.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jeremy does 6 things, right? I met him maybe 5 years ago when he first moved to Chicago, when I was first getting into magic, right? I've only been in magic really like 5-6 years.
So what are those 6 things?
Right, he does cups and balls, sponge bunnies, a small little
Oh.
card routine, this Bill and Lemon thing, which is freaking incredible.
Oh, so like 6 routines.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
it's
does 6 things.
I
right?
understand.
But he's done them literally hundreds of thousands of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's examples of that in Toronto of people who are very talented at performing their
Right.
dozen routines, and that's all they
Yep.
do.
Yep.
And
But
it's
the
so
dude-
much so that they walk up to me and they go, "Hey, show me a card trick," and then I show them anything, and they're like, "That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen." I'm like, "Have you never seen a card trick before?" And they're like, "No, not really."
Like, I do stage. What do you want?
Wow. That's
That's a real story. That's a real story.
That's a real. There's
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah. Well, like, if you know how to behave on stage, you
Yeah.
can know 5 tricks and have a career, right?
That's
Like,
true. And the thing is, like, this is why I think that amateurs have better magic than professionals. Like, I think professionals are amazing, but it's a different thing when you're doing magic for the love of it than it is when you're doing magic to have food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
And also, like, professionals, what ends up happening is, I mean, we were talking about the positives of the classics, but sometimes it's people holding on to things that
Yeah.
they hold dear for no
dear
reason.
life.
that-
Like, just-
Exactly, and it's made it now, like, 80 years, stuff that
Oh,
hasn't
man.
held the test of time,
Oh,
that's
no,
still,
hell no.
yeah, exactly.
Nobody has a handkerchief.
When I'm talking classics, I'm talking about things that were when I'm talking about good classics, I'm saying things that were hidden in books forever ago that you'll read and will blow your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not
It's,
things when I say classics, I'm not talking about cups and balls, things that people do. Not that cups and balls is bad.
but
right?
it's a classic routine. and,
Okay,
I
what,
mean,
what do I think is okay? Take linking rings for example.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, I know, but I think linking rings is a terrible routine, no matter how you do it.
don't even disagree.
Yeah,
I think
that much.
awful.
I mean, I
Listen.
feel you can definitely do it in a way that's not terrible. I
You
feel,
can
but
do it artistically. You can do it in a beautiful way, but you are never going to fool anybody.
tell me why. I have my own
because
reason
I
why.
will
Everybody
disagree
knows how
with
it
you, but
works.
I'm excited. Oh, my sister to this day asks me, "How did they get the rings together?" Like, she doesn't know. Like, there are people who it's amazing for, but at the same time, it's so overdone and like without
It's
giving
happy.
away the solution. The obvious solution is the solution.
Right.
So,
It
like,
is.
what are we doing?
Exactly.
And that's
Is what-
my rule, right? This is a theory that I have, right? I'll get right into this right now. And this is why the Magic Way is so important. They should have no explanation, right? Like in the
100%.
Magic Way, he has that whole chart, right, where he's talking about vanishing a
An
coin.
okay magician, a good magician, a great
Right.
magician. Yeah.
Where he's talking about just simple effect, just vanishing a coin, producing it from behind a person's ear. Right?
Mhm.
Is that a miracle? No, but he's saying that given the right circumstances and the right use of the method of false solutions, etc.,
It can be.
it can be.
Exactly.
Anything can be given the right
Yeah.
presentation and the right
Yeah.
situation.
So we
So-
definitely need to make sure that the first thing that an audience member assumes is not the correct thing, the best we can do if they're going to assume something is to allow them to stand on a rug so that we can pull it out from under them later
Right.
on.
But
And
this
if we're
is-
not doing that, then they need to have no explanation.
It's still an issue, though, and this is what I call being fooled by default, right? So, okay, well, two things. First, and this is my theory, and I think that you'll agree with me when I explain it to you. If they have a method, it doesn't matter if it's right.
Of
if
course.
they have a method, it's the correct method.
Of course, even
Yes.
if, never even mind a method, if they have an inkling of the method, they mentally won't need to take themselves through the steps of each piece of
Sure.
the method.
Yeah, they'll
If
just
it's-
assume that's how it's done.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, it's done with mirrors. Well, how?
Or-
They're like, I don't know. It's just mirrors.
Exactly.
Or they're like, even
Exactly.
at some point, I saw you switch the deck, and
Exactly.
like,
So
well,
that
how
must
would that would have changed anything? Well, I don't know, but it definitely happened, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
The point is, don't let them see shit, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
No mistakes are allowed.
But even more so, the point is this. If they have a method, that's the method. That's how it's... If they think they know how it's done, that's how it's done, period. And the reason is, even if they're wrong, and the reason is because
have a
the only way to
solution.
convince them otherwise is to tell them how you actually did it.
And that's not how you want to end a trick. You want
Right.
to end a trick with the final moment of impossibility, not
Just-
with
and
them
just
being
nothing.
like, but are they
Right.
all aces? And they're like, oh no,
Right.
they're not. And then it's like, oh well, that fizzles.
And that's what I call being fooled by default, right? Where they go... Okay, what's an example? Okay, so say you did an ambitious card routine, right? I hate ambitious cards also, by the way. I'm probably going to get hate for that too. I think that's a terrible trick, but I'll tell you why. The point is, they say, oh, are they all aces? Right? Even though they have their signature on it, somehow they're like, oh, the signature transferred to, I don't know. If they say, oh, are they all aces? And then you show them that they're not, they're like, oh, they're not. Oh, now I'm fooled, right?
Uh-huh.
Where they should have just been experiencing the magic way, or the magic rainbow, right away. They should have just
Yeah.
been
As soon as the card is
experiencing
on
magic.
top of the deck, that is the fooling moment.
That's where they're right. There should be nothing.
So,
and
but
that's
the
why method
solution
of
to
false
that
solutions.
is that you need to eliminate those false solutions before the
show the
final
face
moment,
of the deck
right?
during the course of the routine.
Exactly. Show it before the routine so that they
Not
don't even.
saying, look, they're all different. So if you think later that they're all the same, they're not. Like don't be
Exactly.
tacky, you know. And this
No,
is
no,
why
yeah,
Aussie's
yeah.
a genius,
Mhm.
right? Do you know what Aussie does? Just once a month, he'll go up to like a big client, borrow a $1 bill, change it into 100, and just give it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Eric
That's a
Leclerc
This is genius.
factors
You'll like this.
in the price to a contract of bigger bills when he does a walk around gig at a
Really?
business, and then he has those bills in his pocket and he exchanges them
Yeah, 5
for people. So he actually factors it into the fee and he explains to them what he's doing. And secretly, the great part is they don't really realize that he's getting to keep all of their $5 and $10 bills that he's
Yeah.
turning into 50, right? So if he factors another like 1,000 in, which is like $20, $50 bills, and he gets tens, he still made 200 because they footed the 1,000.
Well, I think there's a way, even like, okay, so here's the thing. $100 bill switch, it's a miracle if you give it back, right?
Right.
But I think it could be more emotional. And I think that's playing on a person's greed and lust for money, right?
Mm.
That's why it's powerful for them.
And that's why I feel that, like, a lot of people speak about coin magic and they say, like, you know, people love money. And then, well, the response to that is, like, when was the last time that coins represented, like, wealth and money to you?
Yeah.
Like, coins
Like,
to me
in
represent
the
taking the
14s.
subway and, like,
Yeah.
and
collecting.
yeah, like, so it's very funny because people talk about, like, you know, wish fulfillment with coins, but I think unless you're doing, what is it, Miser's Dream, you know,
Yeah,
where you're,
well-
like, infinitely plucking coins, then coin magic doesn't, like, hit on that.
And that's why we have to talk about, at some point, remind me to talk about how to make magic relevant again.
Talk about it right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, we're talking about Miser's Dream, right?
Sure.
Who popularized Miser's Dream?
I don't know.
T. Nelson Downs.
Okay.
That wasn't at all what I was going to say.
He created Miser's Dream. Essentially, he popularized Miser's Dream,
Mhm.
right? It was done many times before in the 20s, in the 10s, 20s, but he would stand on stage producing coin after coin for our layman viewers, just producing coin after coin from thin air, dropping them in a bucket, right? Do you know when he was doing this?
Great Depression. I
Exactly.
would assume. Yeah, when people need money.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, like, you could do like a bill switch for a homeless person versus a big client, and it
And
would
then
have
that would
such a
be
different impact.
That's emotional right there, right? Which is why for a big client, I think it's better, and we were talking about this earlier, it plays on greed just to switch it for 100. But I think there's a better way emotionally to do it that would mean more to them than just more cash in their pocket.
And what would that be?
Think about this as an effect, right? And I do this, Aussie does this too. Hey, do you have a $10 bill on you? Perfect. Borrow it, just holding it at the fingertips, right? Just playing with it. Now, if you're out and about, this $10 bill could buy you lunch, it could buy you maybe a cheap dinner, maybe a ticket to the movie, some entertainment, right? But that's just here, where we are right now. I'd say Chicago, just in Chicago. Are you from Chicago? They say yes, hopefully. If not, I wouldn't do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're from Chicago, right? How long have you been here? Maybe 5, 10 years? They answer whatever. Do you work? Where'd you go to school? Let's say the idea is to do this to a native of the city that you're in, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you got out? When's the last time you went and saw the world? They go out. They talk about the last time they were on vacation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say, where haven't you been before? Where's your dream vacation? Like the place that you'd rather go more than any other place in the world. If you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would it be? And they say like Japan, right? For example. And I say, well, if you go to Japan, you're probably going to have a really good time. I'd recommend going to the museum, the exhibits from World War II at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Like they have amazing museums. Tokyo is one of my favorite places in the world. In fact, they have really, really good ski slopes, and you're talking, you're bantering it. And you can tell that I've gotten a lot more into emotional presentation right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is, if you're going to get lunch there, you're not going to need $10. You're going to need 10 yen or 10,000 yen, and then you change the $10 bill into 10,000 yen and hand it back.
That is absolute magic.
Yeah, because
That's magic,
you're
right?
not just playing on their need for more money.
It's
You're
not at all,
giving that
actually.
money purpose. You're saying like you're going to
Yeah,
obtain
in fact,
a dream.
it's less money.
Yeah,
Exactly. And like Danny DeOrtiz talks about it, and he says like if you reach underneath the table and you pull out a sandwich, that's like a really okay trick. But if someone's like, you know what I'm feeling like? A sandwich. And then you do that, that is like the coolest thing you've ever done in your entire life,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So the idea, I think, with that is to position the effect, not
Right.
that once they see the result, they think about how much fun that result is,
Yep.
but rather to allow them to wish it before they
Exactly.
even see it. And that's
And-
why David Copperfield was so great at what he did, is because before he flew, he would ask people to think about their dreams and what they would wish to do and dream, and he wouldn't say
So
what that
it seems
is.
like they're choosing the effect almost.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and I have this other effect that I've been working on for 3 or so years now. It's still not done, but I call it Genie in a Bottle. Right? It's based on Aladdin, and I came up with it when Robin Williams died.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And the idea of the effect is that the spectator gets 3 wishes, and they can do whatever they want. So they get to wish for 3 effects.
And it really works.
Right, but the thing is, it's within the confines of. I won't talk about it too much because I'm still working on it. But
Yeah.
it's within the confines of certain criteria, and then there's a nice lesson at the end where because it seems like because the issue with that is, oh, that's awesome being able to do what they because like people come
Yeah.
up to you, how great would it be if someone was like, hey, can you levitate? And you're like, hell yeah, and then you just levitate.
Yeah, no
right?
problem. No, it'd
Like,
be
how
much
awesome.
better. It'd be much better if they were like, hey, can you take a card that I signed and put it in the middle of the deck and have it like repeatedly come back to the top? I've always wished
I wish
wished
that could
that.
happen, you know?
I've always wished that. Do you know? It's just a dream I've been having. Do you know if
Right.
could you fulfill that wish of mine?
Right. Well, the thing is, right. So I'd say within the confines of a card effect, and then it's almost like a confabulation with magic. Anyway, the point is, the issue with that is they know it's going to happen, right? Which is why when someone says, when's the last? You guys do magic for people, right?
I do magic for goats, but I'm sure I can
cool.
relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stare at them too. Try to walk through walls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody got that. Man,
I did.
I know.
Ladder, let's go.
So, anyway, the issue is, so some people go up to you and be like, "Hey, can you do this thing for my friend? That thing you showed me, right?"
And you're like, well, when you say, can you do the trick where the card ends up under the box?
Exactly.
You've really ruined it.
Exactly. So the issue with this genie effect is people know what's going to happen, right? Because they're asking for it, and that's the nature of the effect. Is they're asking for it, and I'm fulfilling that wish. So there's a moral at the end, and it comes together. I'll show it to you sometime in person. Anyway,
Well, it's cool, and one of the reasons why I like it is because, it's so much more awesome and so much better for both the magician and the effect and everything if someone approaches you and says, show us that trick with the genie where you granted wishes, and isn't
Exactly.
like,
That's
show us
exactly
that
what it
card
is.
trick where the card goes to the... You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly, and because here's the thing, and the reason is because if you do correct emotional magic, right, they're not gonna say, show me the trick where the card comes under the box, right? They may say that explicitly.
they
but
should
if you're
say,
familiar with-
show me the trick where you went back in time 8 times, and...
Well,
or whatever.
I
Whatever.
I hate time travel presentations because I feel like they're never plausible.
But never plausible... Hold on, but 3 genie wishes is super plausible?
No. You're misunderstanding me. That's not the presentation. I'm not saying. It's just it's based on Aladdin. Like for example, here I'm designing a show based on Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yeah.
But if someone goes to the show and doesn't know that it's based on Alice in Wonderland, they'd never know that.
They won't.
Okay.
It's just in my head. It's based on Alice in Wonderland.
Oh,
So
okay.
it creates this narrative for me
Yeah.
because I'm
Interesting.
really not into like Bilbo Baggins in the Forest presentations
Yeah, absolutely not.
where you're just like, oh, the 4 jacks represent 4 robbers and like
Right,
that's great.
but yeah, like I mean, well, that's like sort of falsely attributing. You know what I mean? Like it's trying to like
Right.
squeeze 2 things together, and like that's clearly a bogus half story about firemen who escaped a building that's not really, they didn't really, and it
Yeah.
doesn't really
They're
make
still
any
in the
sense, right? Like
building,
it's
they're
not a
running
that's not a
around.
real story. It's not a situation. It's not something that people relate to.
For the
It's not
record.
something.
For the record, I do love Lord of the Rings. I've read them like 12 times.
It's funny because magicians have very like different views on fantasy, you know, half being like very into it all, and then half being very like, you know,
I prefer-
I do all the made up stuff.
I prefer I prefer presentations rather than having them be inherently based on magic. You know what I mean? Like time travel is fucking magic. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Like
It's
for
not
sure,
sciencey
like
yet.
backwards time travel specifically, because I'm a quantum physics geek. I was going to school for quantum physics. Time travel is based on time travel is fucking magic. Like it really is.
Yeah,
You know. So if you have a presentation based on magic, I feel like it lessens the power of your magic almost.
what?
Okay. No, I
Well,
sort of get what
because
you're saying.
I feel
You're-
like if I
if
was
you
talking
base
about
it in-
science, right,
yeah.
and showing them magic, I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. If time travel was real, like if I was pretending that what I was doing was a massive feat of like memory, then it's not magic because I'm robbing them of something.
Sure.
But time travel, like we still can't do it. So I don't think anyone's gonna leave feeling at rest with the
but
fact
you're
that
trying
it was...
to. Is the goal of the effect to convince them that you're actually traveling through time? Is that what
Absolutely
you-
not. Absolutely
No,
not. The
no,
goal
no,
of the
no.
effect
Then why are you
is for
doing
them
it?
because I want them to be able to experience what time travel would feel like,
But know that they didn't.
but
travel.
obviously know
Okay.
that it's not.
Okay, that's a very specific thing because if you say if we go back in time, whatever. Are you saying that, or are you saying
Well, but
If we
I
were
feel
to
that
go
if
back
you
in time, it
claim
would look like
something
this?
like go back in time, or like I was cursed, or any of like something that's very weird.
Well, some people have this. Like I've seen this a lot. People will go like, every time I snap my fingers, we move back 15 seconds in the past, and I'm like, no, you don't. The clock is still moving forward. What are you? What?
Right. So I mean, look, if it's very arbitrary, then I feel that would be the case. But I could, just as you just said that, I could fathom an entire routine where every time you snap your fingers, instead of people thinking like, "Hey, screw you, the clock's still moving," what they think to themselves is, "What's the situation now that we're 15 seconds in the past?" You know, the same way that you think to yourself, you understand the powers of Harry Potter in the movie, and you think
Sure.
to yourself, what's he gonna use his skill for? You're not
Okay.
going like, hey, I don't believe this, right?
But do
so
you
in
really
this,
think that snapping the fingers is going to cause people to move back in time? Like
the only thing that I'll say about that is I feel like I would want to up the process.
Oh,
like
yeah.
snapping your fingers is a little bit dull and not.
snapping the fingers is just. I think that we as a community need to move completely away from that.
Really?
Yeah,
I think that-
what did I did a study, right? I was giving a lesson, and this kid was snapping his fingers to do stuff, and I had this thought. I just went, why do we snap our fingers? What spectator consciously thinks that has anything to do with what magic is? And then I walked up to every person in that coffee shop. I did, every single person, and I went, tapped on the shoulder, and I went, I won't even do magic for you, but I want to know, Do you think that every time when a magician snaps his fingers, that has anything to do with the trick he's doing? And they were like,
right.
But I don't.
Like,
I think that's
I feel
loaded.
Like every logical that's a loaded question, and B,
Well, it
every
is.
logical brain is gonna say, "No, I'm not a child."
Yeah, like well,
Obviously not. But
because-
in that moment, when I show that the card, like I mean, I don't really do ambitious card, but when I show that the
It's a
card
good
isn't on
example.
top, and then I turn it over and I snap and say, "Oops, forgot to do the snap," people are always like, "No fucking way, that card is on top of the deck now."
sure.
The thing that the snap does is
I've
like
done
this.
similar studies where I've actually done, like I did it as a control, and then I did it as an actual, with my variable, right? Where the variable being the magic. So I did it without magic, and then I did it with magic. And I asked people, and a couple people said yes for the snap. A couple people. But the vast majority afterwards, I showed them the effect, and I was like, now I have a question for you. When I snap my fingers, do you think that that's when the magic happened? Do you think that that's what happened, or do you think that it was something else? And most people were like, I think you did magic, because I've read the Magic Way so many times. They're like, you did magic, but snapping had nothing to do with it.
Interesting.
And
I mean, one
for
thing
sure believe
that Train talks about is he was talking about the importance of the movement that you're doing fitting the action. So a big
That's
thing
true.
in Magic, which I do agree with, is using a magic moment, like snapping or whatever. And the reason is because if you don't point to a moment in time when the magic happened, unless it's visual, then they're going to trace back to things like the display, you know? So
Yeah.
so
the shuffle
what
or
you
the
do
this
is
or
by
that.
snapping or by like covering it with your hand or any of these magical moments, when they trace back the effect, they trace back to that moment in wondering to how you did it, because up until then there was no change, and after then there was. It's an effect without a cause. But what I agree with you about the snapping is that most of the time you can find a better gesture that's more fitting to the thing that you're doing,
and
right?
I'm not saying if anybody misunderstood me, I'm not saying we should stop gesturing. I'm saying we should just stop snapping. And I think in certain instances, with card magic maybe, blowing on things. I think I think it's pretty hackneyed and juvenile.
I think you're right. I think it's a weird thing when someone says,
Yeah,
blow
well,
on this.
I
blowing.
blow on my cards when people sign them, and no other
Oh, that's
no other
fine,
time
yeah.
do I need to blow on my cards.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
silly.
weird. I don't know why people do that either.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, where you're moving. You said a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, I think it was before the episode, that you're sort of diving in and swimming in the pool of Spanish magic.
Yeah, man.
And so everyone hooks onto a different, part of Spanish magic that they feel, latches onto them. For me, I love and I kind of touched on it a little bit already, but I love the trying to spin the moment to feel like it was that anything could happen, and that like
Right.
wishes are granted, sort of, and that's something that I like go for. What latched you onto the sort of Spanish school?
Well, primarily, it was when I first saw a performance of my current hero, Chan Canasta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I looked him up after Aussie pointed me in the direction, and I was
Yeah.
like, boom,
You died.
blown away.
Yeah, you died, right? Like, you just
Yeah.
exploded. So, he does his book test. You probably saw him on the talk show he was on.
Yeah.
That's the first clip most people come across. But I saw some VHS tapes, too. And for those of you who don't know, I'll just give a 5-second rundown. Chan Canasta is from Poland, and he's not. It sounds like he's Asian because Chan Canasta, but he's from Poland, and he took on that name based on the game, right? And he's known for doing mental magic in the 50s and 60s. Now, this included orchestrating impossible coincidences with 2 decks of cards between spectators, like he would have them read each other's mind and just kind of stand aloof, right? Which is awesome. I love that type of magic. I think that's so cool. It's borderline mentalism, but it's still card magic.
Yeah.
And then he was also known for his book tests, right? Now, the biggest thing about him was he was known for failing on live television. Because the things that he would do would involve a certain percentage of risk.
Risk, absolutely. You can tell when you watch it, but also when
Yeah.
it hits them, it is absolute bananas.
It's a miracle. Because the dude is he understands chance. He understands coincidence.
Yeah.
And by understanding coincidence, he's able to manipulate people's perceptions into thinking that he has somehow control over probability.
Yeah.
right? Like Scarlet Witch type thing.
So is that sort of the Chan Canasta feel of like probability, like I control the odds? Is that sort
Or
of
is
thing?
it?
that-
Or is it?
It's more like there's no possible way that I could ever have anything have done anything, manipulated anything in any
the
given
hands-off
situation.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yet everything seems to be completely out of my control, and yet it's completely in my control.
And I'm
Except for I do like putting risk in there.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure as like a move guy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons why you must have veered over is because a lot of people were saying like, "Wow, great sleight of hand," and it's like,
Yes,
fuck.
exactly.
It's
the
like,
fourth
fuck,
level.
I missed the whole point. If
Yep.
everyone's telling me, "Wow, like that really looked like you," like, no, I want it to really feel like it.
Yep, and I think there's a time and a place for things to be in your hands, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
combined the two.
It's your
right?
magic.
So, I have 3 color changes that I've been working on for. I came up with them a couple of years ago, and they've slowly evolved into this canasta style, where I now have visual color changes. I have 3 of them that the spectator does,
Wow.
and they're sleight of hand, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a magician, the idea here is that I think I showed you one of them in a spread. You remember?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that's one of them, right?
That one is crazy.
Thanks, Doug. So the idea is their setup, right? So the sleight of hand is done in the setup action, and then when it goes in their hands, all they have to do is complete the change.
Right, and the reason and the reason why setup, pre-work and post-work is the best way to do impossible stuff is because in the heat of the moment, that's not when you want to be doing your sleight of hand, because that'll
Exactly,
lead
yeah.
people to say, "Wow, you're quick," and you're like,
Right.
"God damn it!"
Yeah, and this is why I say always, if someone's looking at your hands while you're doing a move, you're doing it wrong.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Unless it's visual.
You should
right?
be
Unless it's
able
visual.
to do it with them looking at your hands, but
Right.
they should not
They
be
should
looking.
never-
They
that
should
should
never
never be the
ever be
And
looking
this
at your hands.
is something I talked with John Carney about. Sorry for all the name dropping. I just have a lot of people.
Keep
that I
on
look up to.
dropping them.
Yeah.
Drop fire.
No. I just have a lot of people that I look up to, and so I would feel so wrong if I didn't bring them up because I feel. How do I say this? Above everything else, people deserve credit for their own creations and their own
Absolutely.
ideas.
Yeah.
More than anything. Like I think so. That's why every time I bring up a name, it's not like, oh, I met this person, because I don't care, right? That we're just people. Like we're just guys. And that's what I think is so interesting. Is like if you met. And I was talking to this with one of my students. He goes, "Oh my god, I can't believe you met like Patrick Kuhn." We were talking about this with Patrick right earlier. We were just talking about, and I was like, "What are you talking about? Like Patrick's just a dude."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I walked up to again in a coffee shop. I was like, "Hey, person, hi. Do you know who Patrick Kuhn is?" "No." "Okay."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
Hey, and Patrick's one of my best friends. Like, so that's why I brought him up. Of all people, he's one of my best friends, right? But nobody has any idea who we have this weird little microcosm of fame that people get caught up in, and it's just
Right.
Just don't. Okay, take your
It's like
magic seriously.
this 1/8% of the world that
Yeah.
enjoys magic, and then a smaller chunk of that who knows who these people are, and then an even smaller
But
chunk
at the
of that
same
who's
time,
starstruck.
there is a kid with a Patrick Coon poster signed in his bedroom,
Right,
like
exactly.
freaking out.
Yeah, so Carney, what he does is, and we talked about this in great length. When we decided there are 2 walls, one of technique and one of misdirection. Imagine, have you ever seen Attack on Titan?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you know the 3 walls?
Yes.
Okay, so Wall Maria, Wall. Anyway, so the idea is that they're meant to be. Well, they're meant not to be breached, but one can be breached if necessary, right? So there are 2 walls: technique and misdirection. Your misdirection is your outer wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that should be covering everything. Again, if they're looking at your hands while you're doing a move, you're doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
That being said, people will burn your hands. That's just something that some people do.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that case, you have perfect technique in order to cover that,
Exactly.
Right.
right?
Your second line of defense is being
Exactly.
perfect. Your first line of defense is not having to use the second line of defense.
Yeah, and then the third line is like sexuality. You're like, look at my other areas.
Just raw sexuality.
You just wink at them. Yeah.
But yeah, you were talking about fandom and rise
Yeah,
to fame in the magic
so
world,
weird.
and
It's so
you're a young
weird.
guy, and I mean you're making waves, right? Like people know your name, so
Yeah, but like I don't don't like when people, because I've seen it get to people's heads, and I hate that.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to say like Mr. Big Shot over here.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
I'm
just
curious.
mess with
How did
cards,
you
like,
get there?
Yeah, like you're
Like,
a young guy
You're a
who's
young
sort
guy
of like
who's in the community.
Yeah,
You're
of course.
friends with Patrick Kuhn.
a lot
You know
of
what I mean?
people
So-
speak about John Carney and Patrick Kuhn based on the videos of which they watch.
Yeah,
you know,
or books.
right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about the lunches that you had with Aronson and all the chilling you do with Shin
I love
Lim and all
it.
this stuff. So
I don't freaking shit.
anyway, so what my question is,
lovable dumbass. I love him.
my question is this you just taking great advantage of the internet and living in Chicago and just trying to reach out and share, or
No,
has it
dude.
sort of happened organically?
Yeah, I didn't get into this to be like hanging out with these guys, right? They just happen to be really awesome guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I say guys because, well, I mean, let's be honest, they're all guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that.
No worries. But no, I put my stuff out there, right? I didn't get into it for followers. That just happened, right?
Right.
I put my stuff out there. I just play with paper, right? Like I put my stuff out there, and people liked it, so they talked to me, and then things just kind of went from there. I mean, it all kind of happened from Dan and Dave. And so, by the way, I should probably say, like, I have another project coming out with Dan and Dave either this or next Friday.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
So big shout out. By the time this airs, it will be last or 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
So people will, if you're listening right now, it's already out.
Yeah, it's called Siler. You can find it on artofmagic.com /
Awesome.
Simon Black.
So just to relate to what you were saying, like in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks of us getting this podcast up and running, and we've been, a lot of awesome people have reached out to us, and just being very happy about the spreading the love of the Magic community. So my advice to anyone listening, sort of from us and you, is share your thoughts and ideas, because that will help you grow into the community and allow those thoughts and ideas to become more solid and real.
Yeah.
you
Don't
know?
be afraid. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, don't be afraid of getting your heart broken.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No,
Let me
no.
say it like this. I just... People will ask for advice all the time, right? Am I doing
Give
this
me
right?
advice.
How can I get there? How can this be better? And then I'll tell them up front that it's trash, right?
Yeah.
If it is. I'm just going to be honest, because I'm very
style.
picky now. I used to like all Magic. Now, freaking, like, it's very, very difficult to please me.
Yeah.
Ladies. What? So, it's... People will show me things, and I'll tell them that it's garbage. And then they'll get offended, and then I'll say, no, let's fix it. Let's make it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's not helping anybody if you just say, that's bad, leave, right?
Yeah.
I'll say, no, that's trash, but let's turn it into, like, it has potential, right? If it doesn't, then I'll say that.
Yeah,
But
it's like
some-
it's like raising a kid. You have to tell him he got the question wrong, but you don't tell him he's a fucking idiot.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? You're like, let me show you how to do it, and you also don't hold his hand and send him on to 5th grade, even though he doesn't know how to spell his name.
Right. They have to understand that like, what I say about their material is not a reflection of what I think about them as a person.
Right. So it
Yeah.
means you picked the wrong thing, and here's why. It's
Right,
like,
exactly.
You picked the wrong thing, and have you ever read Designing Miracles? No, you should.
Exactly.
Because that might help you.
It's
when
kind of
you
the difference
design.
between saying someone is an asshole or saying they're being an asshole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, the point of this is, if you're going into things and just asking people, oh, what do you think of this? Which is essentially saying, critique this, right?
Then be okay to the negative.
Be
stuff,
okay with
too.
critique, like,
Mm-hmm.
be okay with criticism, because people will ask for criticism and just be looking for praise,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
not helping anybody.
That's not how you better the art at all. Which is why we
Right.
don't just want praise
Yeah.
on our website. In the comment
Yeah,
section, there's
guys.
been a lot of heat.
And you can tell, yeah, there's a lot of negative, a lot of people disagreeing with what we said in the comments, which is great.
perfect.
Because
Right
that's
now,
exactly
this is
what we...
li-
No, not on this.
no,
I mean,
not on
they
this.
will.
I was
You've
like,
told
what?
them. You've told us that there's going to be a lot of controversy with what you think of linking rings. So,
So, yeah.
we're going to
Oh,
tell
I
the
freaking
world
hate
how
linking
much you
rings.
hate linking rings and get them to shit on you about it.
There's one linking rings routine I liked, and it's the original. It's the original, like, the symphony. It's a symphony,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And I saw it, and I've seen it a billion. I've seen people do it a billion times. But I saw one guy, and he's a Chicago guy. His name is Ben Barnes. I saw him do it on stage, and I've seen this routine easily hundreds of times. Right?
Yeah.
And the one time I actually liked it, he did it. He did the original. He didn't even speak. Right? He did it to music. And the reason that I loved it so much was because of his music choice. That's it.
Yeah, he just
And he
created
chose-
the scenery and made a music
Yeah, he
video
chose
for
Art
it.
Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Wow.
And it was just the dopest
Good
shit I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so cool, so classy. And it didn't matter. And here's the thing, right? Like, when I'm watching some people perform, like Aussie, for example, who I just get enthralled in his stories, or Garrett, who's just like a fucking wizard, right? Or Derek, also. Derek Delgadio.
Mm.
Which, if you've not seen in and of itself, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, you did something wrong. You have to go see that right now. If it's still playing in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Anyway, the point is, when I watch these people perform, those are three of my favorite magicians in the world, right? Derek Delgadio, Aussie Wynn, and Garrett Thomas. They'll show me things that I should know. Like, I would know the method,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think about method because I'm
Exactly.
so enthralled with the magic that's happening.
Yeah. And that's how it should be for, I feel like, spectators, you know? Like, it should be so interesting what's going on that, you know, the hunt for method, I mean, although when the magician introduces himself, you might hunt for method, but I think that you should be slapped in the face so many times with miracles that the hunt for method by the spectators ends very quickly,
Yeah.
and they're more interested in your premises.
I,
Do you think that you should slap them in the face so many times with miracles?
I,
Don't you think
I
that's a little
feel
overdoing it?
my personal approach is that when I start the magic, obviously there's a lot of people that are very skeptical and stuff like that, and I like to hit them so many times. What I like to do is I like to show them that the effort that they're spending on trying to solve how things work is not worth it. So maybe I'll do what looks like a trick. So I'll say, like, this is what's going to happen, and I can see them, like, really brewing on methods.
You're like,
and
you
then,
don't even understand. You
yeah,
have no
and then it ends up
chance.
being a joke, right?
You got
And they're
nothing.
like, I wasted my whole mind effort on this, right? Or I'll, like, lead them down one path, and then I'll do something else that's like multiple climaxes or something very early. And I do it because I want them to
Method of
realize
false
that
solutions.
them spending their time ignoring what I'm saying and thinking about what's going to happen is just going to be a boring, terrible experience for them where I make them feel silly and they'll feel great if they enjoy what's going on.
See, I'm torn, right? Because I don't know if you've ever read Tangled Web.
Nope.
That's an issue. Because Eric Mead's a genius.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. I do love Eric. Yeah.
Have you seen or heard what he says about people trying to figure out methods?
No.
Okay, it's brilliant. And it will make you, not change your mind, but question the thought that you just had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he says, and some woman came up to him after the show and was like, hey, I just wanted to say, you were so enthralling with your stories. And I'm doing like a female voice. I don't know what that is. You're so enthralling with your stories. And just incredible and everything that I didn't even want to think about how anything was done. I just wanted to break the fourth wall and enjoy the magic, right? And to you, I'm sure, based on what you just said, you're like, that's a dream comes true, right?
Yeah.
But what he said was, okay, good for you. That's offensive.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, he said that. And I'll tell you why. And he's right to a certain extent. He says, it's only when a spectator brings all the knowledge that they have, every single
And is
bit of
unable
factual
to-
element,
Yeah.
of factual information, and all of the skills that they have for problem solving and logical solutions, it's only when they bring all of that to the table that they know what they're seeing is impossible.
100%.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I will say, like, I agree with that in the sense that magic is still magic. So we need to make sure that what we are doing is totally, completely impossible, and that we don't want the spectators to forget that what we're doing is impossible, you know? And I don't
Yeah.
think that in a show when you do something that's miraculous, that the spectators feel to themselves, like, even if they feel that the magic is happening, they don't go, for the most part, they don't say to themselves, wow, he just read my mind by touching his finger to my temple. Anyways, what else? You know?
That's why I said snapping is stupid.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that they're still tracing through the solutions. But what I don't want is for the point of my
Of
magic
their watching.
to be exactly the point of my magic should not be me out magicianng them
Yeah.
with what I know. You
kind
know?
Sure.
of coming back to what we were talking about earlier and relating it to what we're talking about now. If I'm I'm not a worker. I don't do like restaurant work. I don't perform on stage. I
That's
mainly
fine.
just perform for my friends, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of time, if I'm at a party, someone will come up and be like, "Do the thing where such and such happens," and or do the trick where such and such happens, and I'll be like, "Oh, okay. You know what? Like, I'm not gonna do a trick, but can we try something with this and like
Yeah.
with these cards?" And I'll even do the same fucking effect. Like, it doesn't matter, right? But the idea of it not being a trick and me just like playing a game makes them much more interested because they're like, "Oh, you're not even sure what's happening right now. Like, we're just messing around."
And the
then,
thing is, when you do that for people, right? When you show them magic and they come up to you later with a friend and they're like, "Hey, can you do the thing where the card goes under the box?" That may seem like they're revealing it to you, but really what they're saying is, if you've done it as an emotional of a presentation as I would, or as I'm sure Jonah would, I don't know about you, but I've never seen your magic. I don't know. I can't form an opinion. But if you do an emotional presentation, they're not saying do that trick. They're saying make this person feel how I felt.
Exactly, and
Right.
that's just the best tool that they have by saying like, yeah, when the box and the card did so and so and so. But if you
Right.
design something that's like fun for them to enjoy, then instead they'll talk about that fun thing. They'll say like that time where you went back in time, or where you contacted dead Mickey Mouse
Jesus.
and asked him about whatever the weird thing is that you're making
Yeah.
them experience. That's a much better thing for them to draw onto.
Exactly. Because inherently with magic, like, the beauty in it lies in the fact that people don't experience it very often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So because of this, they can't really they can't really put semantics or words. They can't really put a definition to what the feeling is that they felt, right?
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
why
like,
they laugh.
do the thing where I can't even say it,
And that's why they laugh when you finish. What I feel one of the best responses is laughter, because when you hit the end of the effect and you've sort of painted this picture and then you've removed all the false solution, they arrive at the end and the one thing that they thought could never happen just happened. This incredible tension has been built, and there's no other way to release it, So it gets released in this smile and laughter, the same way
It's
that
almost
you
Freudian.
would. Pardon me?
It's almost Freudian.
It is, and there's almost no other way. Like, if you think about in life, if something crazy happens, like someone accidentally knocks a cup off the table and someone else instinctually catches it, that there's a moment of tension, and then nobody was hurt, no one was harmed, there isn't a negative backlash. There's a
That's
laughter,
really interesting.
right? And that's the response to these tense moments on stage, in a movie. Like someone falls down the stairs, like everyone's like on the edge of their seat until the person goes, "I'm okay," and then it's like, "Ha ha 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 ha," or they're like, "Ow, I broke my leg," and everyone's like, "Let's not laugh. Let's."
That's
Help them.
really interesting.
So to me, I sought after, I try to achieve laughter. I'm not sure whether that's
not through comedy though.
Yeah, not through comedy, through
emotional flabbergasting.
impossibility. Yeah, exactly. Because what I used to get a lot of
Very good.
No, I mean, it was powerful magic, but the response was very, very cerebral. And they would they'd put their head in their hands and they would go, "I have no idea
That's
how
so dope,
that."
though.
Well, I don't know that I agree, because I feel like that is like giving someone a riddle and walking away. And I think that that's not. We're trying to give them these emotional moments, and this riddle, it's not an emotional moment. It's a cerebral moment. It's the same way you feel when you can't solve a math problem, or you can't, get there's a word on the tip of your tongue and you're trying to get it. It's this uncomfortability, and I don't want to give my audience this. I want them to be uncomfortable with something fun to believe in. I don't want them to be uncomfortable because they have found no solution.
Well, what if you present it in such a way that they believe that they've created this impossible coincidence or circumstance, right? So then it's not really a riddle that I've given them; it's a riddle they've given themselves.
Right, but you have to tell me that you think that there is anything that you can do as a performer that's going to leave, that when they recall the effect, they're not going to recall you. And I think that it's a beautiful thing for us to wish in our magic, and for us to be actively trying to remove ourselves. But I think that it's really, really idealistic for us to think that they're going to think back to us and the effect that we did and not think about us.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I actually want the opposite thing. So you're saying the goal is to try to remove yourself completely in an idealistic manner, right?
I don't know if it's to remove yourself, but I think it's not for them to think that I have mystical powers. I think it's for them to think that whatever this...
You facilitated a magic event.
A magical
but you did
thing,
not,
yeah.
You did not create it through your
Well,
own life.
let me propose this, right?
I do. Sorry.
So, okay. You probably get asked every once in a while about famous magicians like David Blaine, David Copperfield, Chris Angel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. People
I
will
always say they suck. Hire me. I don't... No, I'm kidding.
That's funny, actually.
That's a joke.
What do people... Oh, was it? It wasn't funny. Kidding. It was very funny. I loved it. So, what do they say when they ask you about these people? Like, give me an example sentence that people would say when they're talking about one of these famous magicians.
Well...
Generally, to be honest, they just ask me...
Have you heard of Penn and Teller Fool Us?
Or then they're like, I feel like, have you seen David Blaine? I'm like, yeah, I love his stuff. It's like, does he really do the things that he does?
Yeah.
Boom. Keep going.
Is it real or what is it?
Right. And then they'll say stuff like, "Oh, I saw this thing on the show, like where he bites out of a quarter, right? And he spits it back. Can you do that?"
Yeah.
Stuff like
Can
that,
you
right?
do that? Yeah.
Right? Or they'll say that they'll be like, "Oh, have you seen David Copperfield's show? I just saw it. He flew. Can you do that?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You know, or they often say like, "Do you know how to?" Or "Do you know how?"
Oh, yeah, exactly. Do you know the method?
He did it.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the common statement with all of this? Right?
I guess that they're
belief.
grouping all of magic together.
Sure. Yes.
And
But
they're also asking how. That's the main
Well,
thing, right?
Something to consider here is that they believe because you can do magic, you can do this. So they view magic almost like as an energy source, right? If you think about it.
Yeah.
It's not
I
like
see that.
it's not like different they don't. So if you think about how a layperson thinks, they're not looking at different methods. They're not like, oh, this trick is done this way, this trick is done this way, this trick is done this way. They assume because you're a magician, you're now a keeper of the secrets, right?
I agree and disagree. I think that
It's like
not,
a hive mind.
I think that there's sort of, I don't want to say a dichotomy, but there's like there's different groupings of spectator. I know many people who are like, I saw you, I signed a card and it ended up in your wallet, and you must be able to talk to my dead grandmother or, make me stronger. And then there's people who are like, oh, okay, now you know some sleight of hand, but I bet you can't read my mind, or I bet you can't do this, or I bet you can't do that.
Fair.
So I think it depends on the spectator.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, like, that people obviously think of magic as just this general umbrella of magic.
Yes.
And that, like I said, like, you are the same magic as David Copperfield is the same magic as whatever. The thing that gets me is this question, which is about famous magicians or just about magic. They go like this. I'll say it my favorite way. They go, when they cut a woman in half? And I go, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they go, that's not real, right? So then what I say to them after is I go, say it. And they go, say what? And I go, it's not real. Say it. What do you think it is? And they're like, it's not magic, right? And then I go, right. I said, if it was magic, then our hospitals would not hire surgeons. They'd hire magicians, right? And
That's true.
It's funny, but we don't even realize... Like, to me, I can't even understand that question. And I'm not saying that as trying to be rude or anything like that. Like, I literally can't understand being able to think to yourself, like, is that real? Like, I don't even know what that means to me,
I actually have the opposite
right?
response when I get that question, because I get it a lot. And it is just the most ridiculous question to me. So I just... as straight face as I can, go, no, yeah, they do. They cut her
right in half. Yeah,
and then they put her right
for the
back
first
together.
couple of years, they had no
That
method,
goes
so there was just
wrong, like,
half people on stage being no. But
My favorite thing is when people ask, "Oh, can you cut a woman in half?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
that's
so
easy. I
can
can't put her
you.
together."
That's the easy part. So can you."
To me, I just think it's funny because we're like, I want to make sure that what I do lands in this funny middle ground where, like, people obviously know that I'm not cutting people in half, but they see it. But then when people go ahead and they ask me questions like, that's not real, right? Like, I don't even know anymore, you know?
Yeah.
That throws my magic for a loop because actual people are asking me about the realness of of something that I think
definitely.
is so innately like almost that cutting someone in half and putting them back together is an icon for doing something that's clearly impossible.
I
you know?
stopped
Like,
doing magic that it was too believable. I used to do like when I first started and I was in middle school. I used to do the like sucking energy out of people things and like you can lift me now you
Wait,
can't.
what?
I'd have two guys lift me in front of people and then I'd suck the energy out of them and then they couldn't lift me again, right? And everyone
Yo, guys,
was like,
Tyler's around to suck energy out of you if anybody's interested.
but and like people would be like, oh, I feel faint, I feel weak, and they'd like get into this whole thing of, and it's just their own mind, right? And I started feeling bad. I'm like, at first I was like, this is sick. These people think I'm a wizard. And then I'm like, these people think wizards are real now. They experience wizardry. That's not okay with me. That's not why I do this.
So,
Well, then we have an ethical dilemma, right?
we already have a full episode on that with
Okay.
Ben Train, and it's awesome.
I
And
love
if you
him.
haven't listened to it, I would super recommend it.
Yeah.
Just a question, because you said you get a lot of advice. And I think that you are a very ripe age to be giving advice because it seems like you have, pulled ahead, so to speak. And I think that it's a lot because for the first half, like you said, you missed most of the errors. You didn't spend any time on stupid tricks that you found, and you spent a lot of time.
Really did, actually.
And then even after that, you got hit with this movement away from this technical looking stuff, and it's like you've skipped a lot of these mistakes.
Right? I'm still doing it,
but it doesn't
it's
look
all
like
behind
it.
the
Right.
scenes. Because the thing is, I got super depressed for a couple months when I was making the switch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because I was creating all these effects now where it seemed as though I was doing nothing, and that's the whole goal. Is I want people to say, I don't know, you never touch
But
the
you
cards.
never touch the cards.
touch the card."
Exactly.
Right. I want people to say that. Like, I don't. How are you? What?
Exactly.
I did a little scream there. Anyway, I want people to say stuff like that, right? And that's this response I get now. But somehow something was missing because I was doing the style of magic for so long where they would appreciate my skill.
Yeah.
Right.
But now that wasn't the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And I got a little depressed because I was thinking,
Like, what was all
putting
this
so
skill
much-
worth? Yeah.
Right, like I've put so much effort into creating this people, and I was like, you don't even know
Yeah.
how long I've practiced that sleight.
Yeah. You're like,
you don't.
wow,
even
that
know.
was good, and you're like, that's not enough. You don't know.
Well, no. This is now when I'm doing. I mean, that's before, right? This is now when I'm doing powerful emotional magic, right? When people, I'll do a sleight, and it's totally behind the scenes, and I got really upset because I was like, nobody will ever understand how much effort goes into this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
But
we practice all of these sleight of hand skills only to hide them.
And that's our
That's
our
our
life.
curse.
That's
That's
the
our-
world of
right.
magic,
But then I realized, no, I had this all wrong the entire time. I had it backwards, right?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The filmmaker is the only one who knows how to operate the camera. The movie
Exactly.
watchers need not worry themselves about camera operations. They
Yeah,
need
Jonah,
to
you
just
just get me.
watch the movie.
yeah.
Jonah, you just get me.
That's right.
I had this thought a while ago.
Tell me
right?
it.
Maybe a year or two ago, before I even knew you. It was, wow.
It was probably not a good thought.
No, it was a great
Oh,
thought.
okay.
It was, wow. I don't know of a single bad Canadian magician.
Yeah.
They're all good.
Bruh.
They're-
Yeah.
I think I like all of them.
Oh, Canada.
Well, but do remember that, like, the Canadian magicians that you meet are usually the ones that love magic enough to miss to
Yeah.
the States to a
To be a
convention
part
in
of it.
Michigan
Maybe.
with 80 people. So it's not, you're not getting the rock bottom of the Canadian magicians.
Yeah.
That's true.
But listen,
I mean,
I'll take the
you,
compliment.
Mayhew,
I'll spread the word.
Train, Asher, Barker, Morphew, Wilson.
Now you're just making noises with your mouth. I don't know.
No, you're all
I'm just
freaking
kidding.
bonkers.
Yeah, you know what? These guys are very talented, and there's a lot of...
You were in there.
And Vernon.
Vernon.
Bruh.
And David Ben.
Yeah, yeah.
Bertram.
Mm-hmm.
You
So-
actually just gave me a great analogy, I think, talking about the film and not needing to worry about how
Oh.
the camera works. It's like, when someone says, now that you understand how magic works, like, can you still watch it and enjoy it? I'll just compare it to that. Be like, I have friends who are cinematographers and, like, have painful moments in movies that nobody else watches because they don't know anything about cinematography. Or, like, I play drums and, like, I can't listen to a song without only hearing the percussion in it because I play drums, but I still love music and I still love movies, right? And I still love watching magic.
Because I was saying this earlier, right? When I watch certain magicians perform, like Garrett, Derek, and Aussie, I don't think about method.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
There is a way to unknow, or not. There's not a way to unknow, but there's a way to unsee.
Yeah. And you know what? The only thing that gets in the way of it, and I'll be honest, is things that look like moves. That's the stuff. That's the stuff that'll catch our eyes. But you can almost get away with the craziest stuff for magicians that don't look like moves if, what you're saying is inspiring enough. Just to touch back on that before we wrap up, do you have any final advice for any aspiring magician trying to learn, any corners that you have advice for them to cut so they don't waste the years that you feel that you wasted, or maybe you didn't feel that you wasted them and you have advice?
Oh, I don't feel that wasted them at all. I use all of those techniques.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an amazing quote from none other than S.W. Erdnase.
Yep.
Right?
He's probably Canadian, by the way.
He actually probably, the illustrator anyway.
Yeah.
But the quote is, the resourceful professional failing to improve the method changes the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm still doing all of those slights that I've always done. It's just now I'm not getting appreciated for them. I'm getting appreciated for my magic, right?
Yeah.
So I just changed the moment that I execute them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's not like I just don't do that shit anymore. Like, I still do all of it. It's just the way that I do it has changed completely.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, I was in the circus for quite some time. Like,
Bearded lady
back when
or...
Yeah. Wait, what?
I said bearded lady or...
Oh, I can't grow a beard. I'm the Jew. I'm the only Jew in the world that can't grow a beard.
Wow, I grow two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can share. My facial hair goes in all thin and patchy. I like better shaved anyway. This is not the point.
Sorry, back to your
The
beard.
point is, my ringmaster taught me, he was really hard on us, right? Like, super hard on us. Me specifically. Because he knew I could do better. I mean, even though I've always been good with my hands. Like, I was a juggler, right?
Mm-hmm.
He appreciated the skill that I have/had, right? And he'd always know, and I'd never get complimented for anything, because compliments don't help anybody, right? It's only criticism that helps.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll take it.
He was super hard on me. Like, I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid, right? I was a little kid.
Yeah, no, it happened.
And he was
baby.
really, really hard on me. But I'm thankful for him in the long run.
Yeah.
Because he taught me many things, two of which stuck with me to this day, which are, one, only the fool is afraid to make a fool of himself.
Oh.
Right? And this one, which applies to what we were just talking about, which is, it's not what you do, but how you do it.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? And when I'm saying that, it's not method. I'm not talking about how you do it like method, right? I'm talking about the way in which you accomplish. Sounds like I'm talking about method, but really not.
No, yeah, it's the journey you're taking them on,
Yes.
not the secretive stuff that happened.
And he was talking to me how he would always use this story about how he saw Cirque du Soleil, and they have the most amazing jugglers there. He saw a juggler juggling like 9 balls, right? And it was the most boring thing he'd ever seen. And he saw some guy just juggle 2, and it was the most entertaining
That sounds
thing.
right.
Like, take the Chicago Magic Lounge, for example, right? When I was there, this was maybe more than that. It's like 5 months ago, like December area, January, December.
Yeah.
There's this guy named Jeff Bibick, and I was talking to him a while after the show. We were just hanging out outside, and I said, Bibick, I realized something about you. And he goes, what's that? And I said, you're not a magician. He goes, what are you talking about? And I said, you just do weird shit on stage. Right.
Yeah.
No, he does. So you don't even have to do magic, right? This guy, he did this thing where he folded. He went on stage for a half hour and borrowed a napkin and just folded it into a chicken on stage.
That's amazing.
And it was the most... yeah, I mean, it is. But it doesn't matter what he did. It's how he did it.
Yeah,
like, it was the most
exactly.
entertaining thing I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And all he did was just borrow a napkin, fold it into a chicken, and leave.
Yeah, it's like Leclerc, right? I mean, Leclerc does actual magic on stage. But, like, he does 3 tricks in 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and the rest of it is him just being awesome and entertaining, right?
Dude, it's so funny.
So
he's so entertaining. I actually think he's a crazy person, but
Oh,
He is,
we
he
know.
is. Yeah,
he's
we
a
know he's a
crazy
crazy person. There's no
I have
question,
him on
yeah.
Snapchat.
he was
he's
episode
crazy.
2 of this podcast, and he actually gave some sick advice.
really,
Yeah, about
Yeah.
building your character and stuff like that on stage.
when he was in Chicago, was probably the craziest night I've ever had.
Yeah, that people tend to say that right after his name.
Yeah. Oh, LeClaire,
Yeah.
one crazy night of my life. Let me tell you.
One of the things that we do at the end of the episode is we sort of go around and we talk about different things. I mean, different parts of the topic that we just hit, and what has possibly twisted our mind since the beginning of this conversation. So for me, I really, really loved that bit from Eric Mead, which is just that, I mean, I'm not super worried that my magic's going to be so perfect and amazing that everyone's just going to believe me and say, like, I enjoyed the theatrics and I didn't see that it was magic. I feel like that's not going to happen. But just keeping in mind, I mean, I'm working towards this weird thing where people don't really worry about the magicness of it all. And just to keep in mind that it's all really magic and that people should be experiencing still that mind-numbing wonder, even if it's an emotional experience. So for me, that's something that I'm going to look for. Tyler?
Yeah. And I was very interested by your movement from card heavy stuff to slide heavy stuff to Spanish magic, and what I thought
Well,
was
still
so
slight-
interesting.
again, that's
yeah,
still
that's,
slight
that's
heavy.
exactly
Not
my point.
slight based. How about that?
Yeah. Or the
It's different. It's just the way.
It's the
just
presentation
manner
style,
I'm carrying
right?
myself.
And I
Right.
always had this idea of like, okay, I know enough magic. I just need to work on my performance style,
Yeah.
and I do still sort of feel that way. But I
It
also
really is
I
just
also
the-
kind of feel like if I work on my new methods and new techniques and still gain that new knowledge, it'll inspire me to perform new things in new ways and still push the boundaries of performance. So I'm interested in sort of re-getting back into the learning of method and trying to apply them to new
Definitely,
concepts.
man.
And Simon,
I mean,
did
the
you
thing
have
is,
any...
like, it really is just the way that you carry yourself, man. Like, that's more of what it is. It's not necessarily even changing, not even the material. It's just how you present it, right?
Right.
And how you
exactly.
present yourself. And the point that I was trying to make before when I was talking about the commonality between, like, all of the different stage magicians that you'll see, right? Or not stage magicians that you see. Like, the magicians that people remember from television and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, do you know who Ben Teller are? Do you know who David Copperfield is?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
They don't remember. And when I'm saying... I was talking about earlier, like, can you do the thing where you fly? Can you do the thing where you bite out of a quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not remembering the person. They're remembering the thing that they did.
Yeah.
Right.
With Spanish magic, I'm trying to get them to remember me and how they felt being around
Yeah.
me as a person.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's this weird thing where, like, you might not be the reason why the magic's happening, but clearly the magic doesn't happen when you're not there, right?
Yeah. And,
Right, and exactly, like Fred Capps, for example. When Capps would do magic, it was like he was just a person and magical things were happening to him.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And the thing is, like, and again, it's a way that you carry yourself. Like, for example, Ramsey and Slidini and
I was just gonna
Capps.
mention Slidini.
Do you know how they would teach their students?
I don't.
The first 7 lessons, right, over the course of a week, they would not learn any magic. They wouldn't even learn theory, right? They'd learn how to walk into a room as a magician.
Great.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
Great.
And then then you have all these little, like, Slidini would teach all the students to talk like him.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see these tapes. It's so funny. You see these little tapes of, like, 5-year-old kids going, "What? How am I going to fool you?" And it's like the greatest thing of all time.
So do you have any final thoughts or points that you've maybe come to as a realization or even a new thought in the process of this conversation?
Yeah, I was trying to think of idyllic effects, right? Because we were talking about at one point, you were saying, what's the ideal, if you could really do magic, would you be doing
Yeah.
this, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, if I actually was Harry Potter, right?
I would pick
think
up my
I'd
deck
say
of
card
cards. Yeah.
I think I would.
Really? Why?
Because I've spent so much, I mean, say, okay, do I become Harry Potter, like, tomorrow, or do I...
I don't know. This
have I
is
been
your
Harry Potter
made-up
this whole time?
story.
Yeah, you're hypothetical.
Okay, if I were to just somehow be endowed with magic powers, like actual magic powers now,
Yeah.
right? I've spent so much time honing my skills with a deck of cards, I'd want to continue that.
Right, but that's this weird Franken solution where you're saying that you want to use the skills that you already have plus more. Heck, if I could do magic powers, I would take the cards, I would throw them in a fucking blender, and I would do the craziest garbage, nonsense, magical witchery that I could actually do,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have to like use my skills of time travel to make people believe in ghouls. Fuck that. I would use my time travel
Just conjure
to make
fucking
people
ghouls.
see the time travel, right? Or I'll use my ghouls for the ghouls, right? So
Here's the thing, right? I don't want to, like, maybe you'd want to use your magic powers to just be a cut above the rest, right?
That was the point I was going to make. Was like, what if you like people know magic is pick a card, any card, right? So if you go pick a card, any card, but then you do something so like they're holding the card and
So
they watch
impossible,
it
but
change
still
in their
plausible,
face
you know what I
or
mean?
whatever it is, right?
Like, just barely plausible, you know what I mean?
it's so funny. Like, you're granted magic powers, and the only way to hide out in the real world is to pretend to be a goofy magician who does card tricks, so that people
then
just think
every
that you're
once in a
method.
while-
You know? And-
Well, no, like, have you seen, for example, have you seen the movie Next?
yes.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Like, he's a magician, and he has the ability to see into the future,
Yeah.
right? But he just uses it as, he uses it as parlor tricks, so that he's just a cut above the rest of the magicians, right? But it's still plausible that he's doing sleight of hand or some
Yeah,
trickery.
but it's almost funny because I don't know that I would have such a joy of convincing people in something that's not real if it was real, because that's
Even
kind of
though
the
it's
point of
actually
magic,
real,
right?
it's this
Like, what
trichotomy
fun
now.
is getting people to
Yeah.
like laugh at?
Actually, if I had fucking magic powers, I'd probably try to legitimately prove to the world that I had magic
Yeah,
powers,
or at least just-
and pray that the government doesn't
Just
kidnap me. or
benefit
something.
for my own selfish.
Yeah, just go win the lottery every day. Next time.
And that's, I think, a really good place to wrap up. Simon, do you have where people can find you online, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or any products to pitch? I know you mentioned one that's coming out.
Well, okay, I'll take like a brief moment and pitch stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So, I started out with this DVD or this download called Siler, which you can find on not Siler, called
Swivel, yeah.
Wow, great, Simon. Great, good job, Simon. Called Swivel on Art of Magic. Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
Oh,
I
cool.
saw you do it live for me.
Oh no. Oh, well, yeah. No, I'm saying the download.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we've seen the download.
Cool. Anyway, so it was fun. So Swivel is on there. It's a collection of sleight of hand material using one specific sleight
Yeah.
that I use all the time.
And you kill it with
Very
that
visual
sleight.
moments.
'Cause you
Thanks, man.
you did stuff with that in Michigan, and my jaw dropped. You clapped your hand against my hand, and there was a
Oh, yeah.
card in between it, and I was like,
It's actually better now. I've changed the moment again, so it looks like the card just kind of
well,
materialized.
that was what it felt like then. So I'm pumped to see it.
Yes, I've changed it a little bit.
My
since then.
goodness. Okay, so
I'm glad.
Swivel, great with a single
So
move,
Swivel's
all of
out
your.
already.
Yep.
I have a DVD that may be out actually by the time this drops. A DVD called Project S.
Ooh.
So that's with Shin Lim.
Ooh.
It's 20 or so of my so I had this. So I have all this sleight of hand that I've just like been hiding for so long, right?
Secret.
And now I'm making the jump into more emotional magic.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what? Fuck it.
Just
I'm putting
release
all
it,
of the
yeah.
sleights, just all of the sleights on one project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like 30, like 20 to 30, depending on how many I decide to actually put in the thing after editing. 20 to 30, just hardcore, knacky as fuck sleights.
Yeah.
In this project, they're really fun. 2 color changes in the spectator's hands that are visual. It's classic force material. Magicians know what I mean by that. Anyway, yeah. So that's Project S. That's dropping sometime in June, July, and then Siler comes out either this Friday or next Friday. That is a sleight that I've been working on for the past 3.5, 4 years. It's one of the most technical sleights that I've ever come up with. You'll never be able to do it unless you put it in the hand. So if you want to, no, you won't. Like,
You'll never be able to do it.
people.
Unless you put in the
You
time.
won't. It took me 1.5 years to be able to do it after inventing it.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
It took.
listen, I've seen
I
your
talked to
moves,
2
man.
people.
I laugh because I go, yeah, I have no idea.
right. Like,
Good
I'm
luck,
never gonna be
Jonah.
able to do that.
It's pretty. No, I mean, people are gonna try, and then there's gonna be some kid in Korea that's gonna get it like the next day.
Yeah. As soon as it drops, you're gonna get an email. Have you thought
He's
about
gonna
this
be able-
variation? I want to do it
Yeah,
this
he's
way.
like- He's like, you know, you can do it actually with a full deck, not just one card. And I'm like, what the
What?
But anyway, so that drops pretty soon. That's a really, really fun thing. It's definitely one of the most interesting sleights I've ever invented.
Awesome. And you also
Um,
did an Murphy's, right?
Yeah, at the table.
Yeah, there's a Murphy's lecture that you can watch, but I'd rather you didn't.
Okay.
It was good. No, it was good and stuff. But I'd rather you.
Your material's
I mean, I
more
don't make
organized in the other locations.
I also don't make royalties on that, so you know.
Oh, alright.
That's just,
And where can people find you online? Twitter, Facebook,
Right.
YouTube, Insta?
okay, so if you want to get in touch with me, you can use my email first, which is simonblackmagic@gmail.com.
Nice.
Or you can follow me on Instagram at swivelsteel. Swivel like a swivel chair, steel like you're being robbed.
Alrighty.
That's how I say it if I'm on the train, which is really because I'm in Chicago, right? So
Yeah.
people are like, oh, where can I? Because I'll be practicing. And we should have. I'm upset that we didn't talk about this, but next time, public practice, right? There's
Yeah.
a whole like ethical thing going on there.
Yeah.
But people will ask me, and I'm like, swivel like a swivel chair, feel like you're being robbed.
Awesome.
Cool.
Anyway,
Awesome.
yeah, it's been a pleasure with you guys.
Thank
as
you,
always.
thank you so much,
for
Simon.
being here.
It's been a blast. And to everyone
you
listening
guys.
at home, we will see you all next time on Discourse and Magic.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.
Wow, that was an action-packed episode with Simon. He's got some really cool and interesting ideas, and you can tell that he is very well studied in the art. You know, he's not just blabbing out of his ass like we are. He's got a very, very deep library, and also a great connection with some of these amazing magicians. And it's very, very exciting. So I hope that you got a ton out of that. And I hope that maybe you were inspired a little bit by the way that his involvement in magic and his excitement about magic and his creation has gotten him the ability to really get out there and share.
Yeah,
and
put him where he is. So with that in mind, get involved, get excited, and comment on this episode. Comment on any other episode, and sign up for our newsletter.
And you know what'll happen if you do those two things?
What will happen, Jonah?
You will be entered in a contest.
A
Did you know about
contest?
that?
Wait, we're doing a contest?
We are, and you know what'll happen? You know what you could win?
We're giving away stuff in a contest? What can I get? Can I win?
You can actually win. Yeah, you can win back our stuff right now. So if you do those two things, if you comment somewhere on the website and then you sign up for our newsletter, then you are entered in a contest to win one of 4 copies of Series of Unfortunate Effects. It's an incredible, incredible film.
Wow, you guys better get involved, and then I'll, before I jump on the website and win all 4 copies.
Before you win back all of our copies.
Did you say a film?
It's a film. It's an actual movie, and if you watch the Magician's version, then you get to learn magic sort of in the film, or you can watch the layman's cut with your friends and family and muggles, and you can watch
Mudblood.
Yeah. you can watch it without giving away the secrets to magic, and just an exciting film about
Hilarious
magic.
film.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's got some incredible people that you guys know and love because, well, they've been in the podcast before. So, thank you guys so much for listening to this one, and we will see you all on the next episode of Discourse in Magic. Remember to get into this contest and win the prize for you. It's for you. Yes, you. If you're listening to this,
I was so expecting and remember, stay magical, or like a...
No. Remember to
contest.
Win
Win
this.
it.
Remember to win this. Win it out from Tyler, because otherwise Tyler's going to win it back from us.
I'm going to watch all 4 DVDs in one night. All of them. Open them all. It's going to be great.
Take care, fam.